Hello and welcome to another Tinto Talks, where we talk about what the Tinto has been talking about. And today we're going to be having a look at AI orders, brought to us by Tim Wherry Morrison. Anyway, let us get into this, but before we do that, obviously, if you want to help me get to 30,000 subscribers before, I don't know, Vesuvius erupts, then hit the subscribe button. That would be cool, that would be nice, and it would make me very happy. Anyway, let's get into it and see what we are getting in today's Tinto Talk. Happy Wednesday, where we talk about our rather secret game with the codename of Project Caesar. This week we'll talk about military objectives and how they work in Project Caesar. As our games grow more complex as the decades go by, we've tried to alleviate some of the concerns about micromanagement of military aspects. Back in the days of Hearts of Iron 3, we could set a province objectives for parts of an army hierarchy and enable the AI for them, and the AI would try to fulfill them. In post-release EU4, they added missions where navies could be assigned to patrol areas or blockade, or an army could be set to siege an area. Hearts of Iron 4 introduced a system of painting on the map how you wanted the armies to fight, and when we made Imperator, we ended up with a system that I personally feel is the best for our games, an objective-based system where you can give units objectives that they try to do. So, I have thoughts, because I have played quite a significant amount of Imperator Rome. I have played quite a significant amount of Imperator Rome, so I have thoughts on this. And my thought is, I never used the objective-based system for AI to take control of my army. I originally, when I was making lots of videos for Imperator Rome, had ideas of, wouldn't it be cool if I did a campaign playing as, say, Rome, and then every army that I had would be put on independent operations, or had to be on some kind of automatic order. I wasn't allowed to touch them. And the only army that I was allowed to control manually would be the one that was being generaled by my console. I never went through with that because essentially the problem that I had with this objective-based system is the fact that all of the AI armies were completely ignorant of one another. Essentially, inevitably, all of the armies would end up sieging the same province. I would have, one AI army get onto the siege of whatever, doesn't really matter. Some Alexandria, easy one. Which Alexandria? Doesn't matter. One army gets onto the siege of Alexandria. The other ones don't recognize that siege has started, and they will also go and siege Alexandria. So you end up with like 4 stacks just sitting on the same siege, and they won't move off for any reason, because they're dumb. So I really didn't use it, didn't like it, and I suppose if it can obviously be made better. It can obviously be made better, but that would be my worry, is they need to show that is not going to happen. I do think this kind of thing was great if you had, one army that I would have to set on objective-based, AI control. If I am a colonizer, I can set an army across the water to be that. Or if my, country's on multiple continents at this point, and I'm in a, let's say a 7 years war scenario where the fighting is taking place on, in America, in Europe, and in India, I could go and be like, okay, Europe is the front that are the front's bad. No, Europe is the theater that I am most concerned with. That's where it's going to take the most effort. I'm going to control that. American armies here have AI control. Indian armies here have AI control, and I will focus on Europe. I think that would be fantastic. But yeah, it is a worry, and this is something that I hope is addressed. But that's a little bit of a detour on. Let's get back to the point. But anyway, look, if you're gonna complain about me going on a little bit of a tangent, like, why? That's why you watch these videos, right? So I can put my own feelings in here, not just read the things. Anyway, so for Project Caesar, that's the path they're taking. And as they've been developing new core architecture for the game, the AI has also been written from scratch for the game. Nice. Okay, good. Of course, based on decades of experience making AI for grand strategy games. This means the military AI is using the same building blocks the player can use with the UI. That's good. I like that. That's good. Also, before anyone mentions it or goes into it or whatever, the reason that Victoria 3 is not being mentioned as the game with quite clearly the most infamous AI control over army is because Johan did not work on that game in any fashion. It's not something he worked on, so why would he talk about it? Also, it's shit. But anyway. In the military view for your country, there is a tab for your recruiting and overview of your units, and one for handling your objectives. You can also assign objectives directly to a unit you have selected, of course, and that will also be shown in the objectives view. Objectives can be assigned by selecting a target area, province, location, or C-zone in the UI, or by clicking directly on the map. Any objective can easily be edited while active, and units can be added or removed from them at any time. That's cool. We've got Carpet Siege here, we've got Blockade Ports, Defend Home Territory, Hunt Armies, Patrol Seas, Perform Army Logistics, and Navy Logistics. I imagine this is going to be something like, I have armies full of supply units, I want them to just go back and forth to the army, supplying it with food and probably the other goods that it requires to keep functioning, weapons and guns and such. That one I can see myself using quite a lot. But yeah, cool. Blockade ports. Any navy can be assigned to it, and you can select which sea zones they should be present in. It will then split ships up to attempt to blockade as many enemy ports as possible. Okay, I have thoughts already. In E4, this was useless because essentially what you wanted to do with blockading an enemy in EU4 was have as few ships as possible per sea zone, except when the enemy had an actual navy docked. And then obviously you wanted a few more ships to be there than anywhere else. And it kind of made the objective-based system in EU4 kind of useless because it didn't take that into account. So what you'd end up having is randomly a single tile with no ships in the enemy port having like a ton of ships in it, and then like 4 ships right outside their main navy, which would inevitably get completely wiped. Blockade ports was it did not function at all in EU4. Carpet Siege. This is what I actually have started using quite a bit in EU4. Here you can select which provinces should be sieged down, and the AI will split the armies you have assigned into smaller units and move them around to siege and occupy as much as possible, as quickly as possible. It will attempt to flee with the armies if any hostile armies appear. I like that. That's cool. The fact that it will split the armies, that's kind of nice. As long as they remerge and have the same name, because sometimes I like to rename armies, and if they remerge into the 33rd Army because, you know, the 4th Army got split into like 30 different pieces and then merged back on the final piece of that, then yeah. It'd be nice if it was like 4th Army, everything stayed as 4th Army, and then like 2nd Brigade, 3rd Brigade, something like that would be nice. We've got Defend Home Territory. Attempt to protect the areas near the capital with the armies you assign to make sure no hostile armies siege them down. Oh, interesting. It's specifically near the capital. There should be one for defending home territory that does your entire borders. But okay, I could see this being like having defend capital would be areas around the capital, and then defend home territory being all of your borders, all of your contiguous borders where the army is set to defend. Hunt armies. It will use armies you have assigned to attempt to find enemy armies and engage them if it feels it can win. I will never use this. I would rather well, I suppose I will use it if it's multiple continents of a war, but for general use, I don't see myself using this too very much. It's hunting them over 80 locations. It shows you how many are under fog war. That's kind of cool. Is this enemy armies? There's enemy armies in Przejnij. Okay, I'm going to need my Polish people to tell me if I got even remotely close there. And Sierpsz. And there's no enemies in Plok, Plunsk, Anyway, moving on. that went down real fast. I don't know. Yeah, we have two small hostile armies in those two places. Cool. Patrol the seas, objective that can be useful at peacetime as well, as we'll use the assigned navies to attempt to build up the maritime presence as quickly as possible in the assigned sea zones. This one's going to be really cute. Apparently, maritime presence, incredibly useful and important modifier, and basically, I don't remember exactly what it did, but I do remember Johan saying that to a comment on somebody disparaging the thing that it was one of the most important modifiers. Let's see if we can quickly find it. Maritime presence, slowly built up over time. Navy in the location helps it go quicker. Fun. No, it doesn't. He didn't actually. It affects proximity calculations and the power of your merchants in the market. So, yeah, that's essentially what it does, and that's apparently very, very important. So, I can see myself using Patrol the Seas quite a lot, I think. Army logistics. You may want to assign to a support army with auxiliaries on big campaigns. They'll gather food where it's possible nearby and move it to a deposit in any supply depots you have in the target area. That seems super, super useful. This one, I think, is going to be used in every single campaign by every single player that is remotely decent. Navy logistics. Assign a navy to gather food at a nearby source and go to the target sea zones as logistical support for the armies that may require it. That's cool. I love that too. Navies can drop off food on supply depots that are by the coast as well. So that's fantastic. There are a lot of sub-objectives and supporting objectives that are primarily used by the AI, like join units, maintain troop levels, etc. Okay. However, there are a few important support objectives that the player can use directly. Chasing targets can be done when you see an enemy unit and wish to follow and engage it. The unit will attempt to follow, but if it runs out of morale from movement or the enemy manages to escape into the fog of war, it may be lost. Yeah, this is something that we need to remember as well. Moving armies lowers its morale over time. Marching is not something people like to do. So, definitely, I'm super, super curious how this is going to work out. And then automatic fleet transport, we have this in EU4 as well. This objective is automatically used, very similar to the mechanics from EU4 and Imperata. When you have an army, even in order to go somewhere, they need naval support. If there are navies assigned to support fleet transports, and you give the army the order, it will automatically create the objective and perform it for you. Fantastic. And then repatriate units. Excuse me. It's quick action when you just want your armies or navies that are exiled after war to go home as soon as possible. Oh, that's cool. I like that. That's kind of nice. Next week, they'll talk about the new and in-depth union mechanics and how regencies work. Okay. Right. My thoughts. What are we thinking about these? I am still, obviously somewhat apprehensive about how well this AI control is going to work. In EU4, it didn't work. I mean, I used the siege ability one, right, quite a lot nowadays. I can put on, you don't have to choose which locations, or in E4 provinces, you want them to siege. If you just put on the siege button and then don't select any tiles on the map, they'll just do everything, which I think is the best way of using it. So that one I've started using quite a bit. If you can do it in the same way, I probably will use it here as well. The fact that it splits the armies up as well is interesting. It's an improvement over the EU4 system. But yeah, definitely I think these logistics ones are going to be, like, I don't think logistics would have worked, and it would not have been fun if it wasn't able to be AI controlled. Like, if this game came out with the current systems of logistics, moving food to supply hubs, to supply armies, and there was no AI control whatsoever, I think that would be a huge misstep, because this isn't the part of the game that people want to be doing. I don't want to be controlling my donkeys and bringing them, back to a city to gather food and then going back to the front lines with it. Like, that's not something I feel like is going to be very fun for the player, or for me, who would be the player in this case. But so having this as AI support like this is kind of huge. It's kind of essential. Same with Nave logistics and stuff. But yeah, there's some really nice things in here. My question to you guys is, what other AI objectives do you think should be in this game? Because I'm sure people will be able to come up with some, and maybe if there is some really decent ideas, they can be passed along, and we may end up getting them in the game as well. So let me know what you think. What would you like to see the AI? What would you like to see your armies be able to do when under the control of the AI? The thing I'm thinking of right now is, you know how in EU4 when you're controlling your vassals in the vassal tab and you can give them different objectives? Something like that. Like, if I can give my army, obviously you've got siege already, you've got hunt down enemy armies, defend your capital. I think there should be a defend locations as well. If I can choose on the map, defend this region or defend this province or defend this like area, and define where on the map that is, that would be cool. I also really do like the Hoi 4 paint on the map system, though I obviously don't want fronts, because fronts are not something that really fits this period. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you have any other ideas for AI control doodads and such, let me know in the comment section below. I will be back on Friday with the first proper country-based Tinto flavor Dev Diaries, and it's going to be on Florence, which is one of my favorite countries to play in Mayo, Texas. And well, this game seems to be pretty. If you like a country in Mayo, Texas, you're probably going to like it in Project Caesar as well. So I'm really looking forward to the next Tinto flavor. If you want to stick around for that, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you on Friday. Bye 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 bye.